Shaiho says, "Hi, Austin and Robert. I enjoy listening to your podcast, and I really appreciate your advice. You mentioned a brilliant idea the other day, and I would love to follow up on it. I've not been able to make contributions to a Roth IRA based on the income threshold that I've earned over the last couple of years. I have a traditional IRA with a rolled over balance from previous employers, and because of that, I did not get to take advantage of the backdoor Roth IRA." Which, just to remind everyone, makes total sense. Backdoor Roth IRA, you contribute it to the traditional IRA in cash, you convert it to a Roth IRA, then you invest that cash via the Roth IRA, but you can't convert it unless you have no other balances in traditional IRA accounts. So Shaiho definitely was in a little predicament here. Shaiho says, "I would love to move all of these funds that are in my traditional IRA to my current employer's 401k so I don't have to worry about tax consequences and I can start taking advantage of that backdoor Roth IRA. My employer's 401k does allow this, and it has performed better than my traditional IRA that I have with Morgan Stanley, which I think they even charge me high fees for, unfortunately. My question is, how do I actually move the funds? Do you have to liquidate all the funds at once and then send the cash to a 401k? I think that's their instructions, but I'm not too sure how to move this large amount of money at once. Any advice you guys have is great. I'll go first here, Robert. So essentially, Shaiho really wants to move the money out of their traditional IRA into their current 401k. And again, making sure we're on the same page about that, they want to participate in a backdoor Roth IRA, which anyone can do no matter your income. But the only way you're able to do that is by making sure there's no other money sitting in a traditional IRA elsewhere. If it's a SEP IRA, if it's a rollover 401k, like nothing elsewhere pre-tax can exist when you do the backdoor Roth IRA. So this definitely solves Shaiho's problem. In my experience, when I moved money from different brokerages and things of that nature, yes, you can do cash. That's totally fine. I think what is most important to consider here is that you're not trying to move over Morgan Stanley specific mutual funds or Morgan Stanley specific strategies and investment products into a 401k that doesn't support those strategies and products, right? So let's say, for example, Morgan Stanley has a growth mutual fund. That's the Morgan Stanley Growth Fund. They probably charge you a bunch of fees, unfortunately. But what's specific about that fund is it's not an exchange traded fund, which means not everyone has access to it, just Morgan Stanley clients. And that specific product, that those holdings, that money you have invested of Morgan Stanley Growth Fund can't just be sent to something else. It just doesn't compute. So if I were you, to your point, I would liquidate it, which is a non-taxable event where you can make trades all the time inside of these traditional IRAs or any sort of IRA without triggering a tax event. So I would probably liquidate out of those things. When you're ready to move the money, I would call up the 401k provider and make sure you say, "Hey, how do I move money into my 401k? I know you guys do this. Can you walk me through it?" Then once you figure that out, you call up Morgan Stanley and say, "Hey, I want to move money out of it," right? This is the cash that's in this account. And then you connect the dots there. They coordinate with each other and they'll move the money on your behalf. It sometimes takes 5 to 7 business days. So don't freak out when your Morgan Stanley balance is 0 and you haven't seen the money show up yet in your 401k. The money's going to be there. You're fine, right? They're not just going to lose it. But it does take a little bit of time sometimes. And then once it's in the 401k, get it reinvested and you're back off to the races.
That's an incredible breakdown. And the only thing that I will add of importance for everyone to remember, so many of you that I talk to on a regular basis, and I'm sure Austin does as well, you have these old 401k balances doing nothing. You didn't migrate them. You didn't roll them over. You did nothing with them. So I think the key here for me is remember, don't just leave that money sitting, get it rolled over, get it moved, and get it optimized. But Austin, I love that breakdown, and you covered everything that I could imagine of what to do here and the best strategy to do it.
And now, Shaiho, that you've moved it over to your 401k, do the backdoor Roth IRA for 2025, right? Get after it. Time's on your side here.